Welcome to Raising Consciousness with me, Lou Burrows, where raising human consciousness happens. On this show, I'm joined by guests to cover a range of topics and have conversations that will raise human consciousness for current and future generations. Now, let's dive into today's show. Hi everyone, Lou Burrows here, and welcome back to another episode of Raising Consciousness with me, your host, Lou Burrows. And what some great episodes that we've had recently on the show. Actually, this time last week that I got to interview Dr. John Diamante. So definitely go and check out that episode if you haven't done so already. So I'm just going to sort out my microphone a bit, guys, here. But a great week last week. Anyway, so let's focus on this week, right? Let's focus here on the present moment. And in today's episode, I'm going to be sharing with you the concept of humanity first values and what humanity first values are and why I believe that they're important both now and in the future. And this episode, it comes as a really timely episode actually, because yesterday, at the time of recording this, yesterday we launched a brand new project called Just Gratitude. And if you're watching on video, you would see that I have my Just Gratitude top on, a t-shirt on. So what is Just Gratitude? Just Gratitude is a lifestyle brand that combines a content platform with lifestyle apparel and a global community to help current and future generations to become a better version of themselves. And in fact, over the next year, probably, you'll start to see some changes. Even before that, the podcast is going to form part of the content platform that we're building. Definitely keep an eye on everything Just Gratitude. I will link it down below in today's episode show notes. And it's in an alignment actually with today's episode because the whole brand is built around humanity first values, okay? And using humanity first values to inspire current and future generations to become a better version of themselves and bring more awareness and more consciousness to these values. So today's episode, I'm going to dive into what these values are, and they're values that I, over the past year in particular, I would also say like during my entire personal growth journey, that I've become more aware to. And I've realized that actually these, in my opinion, right, so this is just one person's opinion, are the foundation of all human existence, basically. When I think of humanity first values, that is what comes to mind for me. That's what comes up for me, that humanity first values are the core, right, the foundation of all human existence. And by getting back to these values, and there's 6 of them that I've put together to form this concept, we will lead more meaningful, purposeful, fulfilling, and ultimately better lives. Because isn't the ultimate goal in life is to grow, right? And to become a better version of ourselves and to live the most meaningful, purposeful, fulfilling, best life that we can. That doesn't mean that it's going to be perfect, because perfect isn't attainable. It's just an idealized concept of that. And actually, I'm going to share in a few episodes coming up more about this ideology of perfect, because we all have our own definition of what perfect looks like, perfect feels, and to attain perfect based on what we think other people perceive perfect to be is doing a disservice to ourselves and to others. And in my opinion, just move away from that. So instead, life is therefore, it is about growing. Life therefore is about living our most meaningful, purposeful, and fulfilling life that we can in the moment. And I believe that these humanity first values that I'm going to share with you today are the foundation of that. So without further ado, let's dive into the meat, the right, of today's episode. And I'm going to kick things off with obviously the first value. Now, as I go through these values, I want you to keep an open mind. Okay, an open mind and even an open heart, because you might think, I know, you're going to think all sorts of things. I'm not even going to think what you might think, because that's actually my thoughts. I heard that ages ago with a guest I was interviewing on one of my older podcasts I was doing, motivational mentors. If you've been following my content, right, for a long time, hit me up on Twitter. Let's go Twitter today. And yeah, hit me up and Let me know if you have been following me for a little while to the point where like you remember motivational mentors. Okay. So yeah, tweet me at Real Luke Burrows, and let me know if you remember motivational mentors. Because on that show once, somebody once said to me, one of the guests, and this has stuck with me, that so often we fear or think what other people are going to think about something that we're doing or might say, when really what we're thinking is actually our fault. So, for example, if I'm sat here and recording this episode and I think to myself, oh, my audience could think or might think that these humanity first values sound a little bit weird or whatever it is, that's actually my fault. That isn't your guys' fault because I can't dive into your mind and know what you're thinking in the moment. It was just a really interesting concept, and basically to move away also from the idea or the worry of what are other people going to think. So, getting back to today's episode and humanity first values, let's dive into. So, the first one is love and kindness. Love and kindness. Wow, like love and kindness. What does this mean? We all could have a slightly different idea of what love and kindness means, or any one of these values. For me, and how we're creating it around the brand Just Gratitude, but really throughout all of the businesses projects that I'm part of, and even in my personal life. For me, love and kindness means to be loving, to be kind to everyone and everything unconditionally. Key word, unconditionally, unconditional love. If you're part of my WhatsApp words of wisdom group where every day I post words of wisdom. If you're not, link down below. But if you're part of that, yesterday I also shared a message there was that unconditional love will set you free. Often we subconsciously, most of the times, I don't think we intend to do it. And I'm guilty of this 100% because I'm still on my personal growth journey and becoming a better version of myself. We express love or give love, etc., or kind to someone. I've been guilty of this in the past. Like somebody does something for me, and then I'm like, oh, I give out all this kindness and all this love. That doesn't mean like I didn't love them before, but maybe because they've done something for me, I'm now expressing it more. And so the question is that actually unconditional love, right? Just a question. Again, I don't know all the answers. For me, like with this, it's about being loving and kind to everyone and everything unconditionally, right? Like, so it doesn't matter if they do something bad. Obviously, there's certain extremes with this, but I think when we come to the frequency, when we come to embodying love and kindness, we realize that love and kindness is beyond us. And so we tap into that, we become that, and we're just loving and kind, right? I find like with a lot of these spiritual teachings that they're wordless, or for me, sometimes they're wordless to explain. And that's obviously my part to become a better podcaster, speaker, etc., and communicator, to find the words to be able to communicate these ideas and these concepts. In terms of love and kindness, it's about stepping into that frequency of what being loving, being kind on an unconditional basis. Like people don't have to do anything for you or say anything. Like they can just be their authentic selves, their imperfect selves, and you still love them and kind to them. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't have personal standards for our own life, whereby we get into a relationship and maybe somebody cheats on you or something, and oh, I'm still going to love you and be kind, right? So, and we don't have those personal standards whereby we accept that. So, I'm not talking about so much of accepting. With that example, I believe that when we step into the frequency of love and kindness and actually understand more about the idea of consciousness, we would actually understand that in that moment where maybe that person done that, they were actually operating from their highest level of consciousness. And that in that moment, while we feel hurt and we deal with those emotions, we have personal standards where, okay, this isn't acceptable. And we then take whatever decision and make whatever choice that we feel in that moment is best for our long-term peace, happiness, growth, unfoldment, and come into a space of forgiveness, which is where also love and kindness sits as well for me. So the first one, love and kindness, I think it's the building block of all human existence. Before we move on to gratitude. Obviously, the brand is called Just Gratitude. So surely gratitude has to be a foundational humanity first value. And of course, it is. So for me, gratitude is to express gratitude for the here and now while working towards a new emerging future. We touched upon gratitude in last week's episode, and it was really interesting what Dr. John DeMartini was saying in terms of the two different types of gratitude. And I will link that episode down below so you guys can go and check that out. For me, like how I internalized that was that it's easy to be grateful for the things that maybe we see at the moment or when things are good, ultimately. So it's easy for me to be grateful for in this moment, an internet connection, a roof over my head, etc., because I live with that every day. What happens when, and hopefully this won't happen, a tragedy happens, or even just like in our modern world, let's just use an example, the internet gets cut off, then we still grateful that like for that. So that's how I internalized what we were talking about last week, which really comes back to the point and like how I view gratitude of being grateful for the here and now. So whatever is happening right here, right now in this moment, in this space, to be grateful for it, whether that's good or bad. Because whether it's good or bad, oftentimes is our own internal perception of what we see as good or bad. So we label that. And we label that for a few different reasons. As I'm learning more about human behavior and psychology, it helps us to navigate life, ultimately in the most simple form for me to share this with you. It's all to do with the subconscious mind, ultimately. Once we start to become conscious of how we're labeling things good or bad, and actually if they're good or bad, then again, it comes back to that point I mentioned earlier, then we can live more meaningful, purposeful, fulfilling, better lives. With gratitude, whatever is happening in this moment, to express gratitude towards that, because I also feel, and we always have a choice, but the alternative to not expressing gratitude for anything in this moment, here and now, for me, and I guess in my own internal representation, is then we're coming back down into lower states of mind and frequencies, etc. And we're just not living our purposeful life. So gratitude and also love and kindness and on really all of these 6 humanity first values, because they're the foundation, I believe, of human existence, the things that we come back to. And without all of them, we like, in a way, we have nothing. Gratitude to me also means, so key point, while working towards a new emerging future. So this also got brought up in last week's episode. So we're grateful for the here and now, anything that's happening in this moment, whether we perceive it to be good or bad, doesn't matter. We're grateful for it. We tap into that. We feel grateful, right? We tap into that and we express that and we communicate that. And then whatever is going to happen in the future, we're also grateful for. And we're working towards our vision, right? Our new emerging future. Because who remembers that quote? It goes something like, without a vision, the people perish. Without a vision, the people perish. So I believe in having a compelling vision for our life. And obviously we're business owners, entrepreneurs, for our business as well, because the vision is what drives us forward. So we're working towards a new emerging future. Anything that happens on the way, anything that happens on the path to merging towards that future, our vision, we're grateful for. Again, whether it's good or bad, because we get to choose over time what we perceive as good or bad, as we grow and become better and reprogram our subconscious. That is gratitude. To express gratitude for the here and now while working towards a new emerging future. So number 3, contribution. Okay, to contribute. So this is an interesting one. one of the purposes of life, I believe, is therefore to give, right? Is to give, is to contribute. So if we didn't do that, like how purposeless, I guess, if that's even a word, would life be? So let's dive into this more. Contribution to me means to bring our strengths, our skills, our gifts, talents, passions, interests, and ideas into the world to move humanity forward and to give without receiving expectation. So to give without any expectation. So one of my fundamental beliefs is if we aren't moving the world forward in some way, then what are we doing here? Then what are we doing here? And I think that's a really important question that we are to ask ourselves ultimately. Now, with this one, and I'm going to touch on more about this because it's a huge part of everything that I do, huge part of all of my projects and ideas, future businesses, brands, whatever, a huge part of me is that fundamental belief. If we're not moving humanity forward, then what are we doing here? And the best way to move humanity forward is to contribute in some way. That doesn't need to mean that we build the next Apple or the next Amazon or the next Samsung or the next Nike or the next Adidas or whatever. Like, it doesn't mean building a huge company and going out there and doing like these huge things. It means finding and discovering our version of that in alignment with who we are, in alignment with our strengths, skills, gifts, talents, passions, interests, and ideas, and bringing that to the world to contribute in some way. So that could mean that you start a community interest company and serve your local community. That could mean you don't even get into business or companies and you become, I don't know, the best police officer that you can be and you serve your local community in that way. The whole point around this is to give in some way, to contribute in some way in alignment with our unique strengths, skills, passions, gifts, ideas, talents, and ideas. And consciously, intentionally, purposefully, meaningfully, like whatever, right? Bring that into the world. Bring it into the world. As you're giving, as you're sharing more, as you're sharing your strengths and you're contributing in that way, and your passions and your ideas, you're doing that without expecting to get anything in return, okay? Without expectation. These values link up. So when you give without expectation, that doesn't mean that you don't, let's say, want or I might contradict myself here a little bit, but expect good things to happen. It's about, so for example, I'm obviously in business. I've just launched Just Gratitude. I don't expect us to sell out of all of our stock or to reach 50 sales in the first 72 hours. I don't expect any of that. That doesn't mean that I don't want good things to happen. And whatever happens on the other side, I'm grateful and appreciate it. So there's a few different things here. For me, we show up and we bring our show skills, gifts, passions, and ideas into the world because that's how we contribute it. That's how we contribute, and we that's our purpose. And all these things merged together can actually help us to discover our purpose. So we do that. And we have the frequency, and it comes on to one of the values I'm going to share next, of being optimistic and wanting good things to happen with the underlying realization that I don't expect it, but I'm tapping into the frequency that it's also going to happen. So there's lots of like different mindset shifts that we have to get around here. And I feel like once we move into the embodiment of this, then it becomes a little bit easier. It becomes easier because we are, as a byproduct, living our most authentic life, right? Flowing through life. Again, that doesn't mean we don't hit hardships every now and then. It just means that once we are fully our authentic selves and we're bringing our strengths, skills, gifts, and talents into the world, we're stepping into actually who we are truly meant to be. And we're giving that to others. We're sharing that with others without the expectation of, oh, I just helped you. Like now I expect you to give me money or whatever it is. So hopefully as we go on, this is going to make more sense once I introduce the other three values. In terms of contribution, we show up in the world, we bring our strengths and skills, gifts, talents, passions, interests, and ideas to move humanity forward. The core purpose in some way, in our way to move humanity forward, we give freely, we give openly, without any expectation of anything in return. Apart from good things will happen. Good things will happen. And we just step into that vibration of good things will happen because I'm living my most meaningful life. I'm living my most purposeful life, that good things are going to happen as a natural byproduct of that. And that good thing could just, right? Not to justify it, could just be that I'm my most fulfilling self. And wouldn't that be a great thing? So hopefully contribution makes sense. The next one is growth. So growth is an interesting one. What I want you to do is, wherever you're listening to this episode, is to stop and look around you. Go outside, look around you. And what you'll hopefully see is some part of nature, right? So whether that's one tree or like grass or flowers, everything around us, or 99.9% of things around us, grow in some way, especially in nature. So nature's always growing, evolving, moving, etc. We therefore are part of nature. The interesting thing and the most fascinating thing about humans is we don't just grow physically as we go from baby, toddler, child, etc., in adulthood. We can also grow spiritually, emotionally, obviously physically, mentally. Like, we can grow in multiple different ways. Amazing. And so if we are not growing, then are we dying? That's a question, obviously a famous quote. If we're not growing, we're dying. Because everything else around us is moving forward, is progressing. But we are to step into that as well if we are to live our most meaningful life. Interesting thing about growth is, especially within the personal growth industry, sometimes we feel like you just maybe grow in one way, or you just learn something and you apply it, and then you realize and you come across something else and you're like, oh, now I need to improve in that way. But once we use the words such as need, and this got brought up in last week's episode actually, so Dr. John DeMartini explains it much better than I will. Basically, that's society's imprint on us, right? So we are to grow in the way that we want to grow and the way that we are, let's say, designed to grow, because we're all unique, right? We're all unique, and therefore I'm going to grow in different ways than my brother, let's say, or another family member, because we're all different and therefore we all grow in different ways. Let's take trees as an example. Trees, I find, are a perfect example, right? Because look at all the different species of trees, and they all grow, but they all grow in their own unique way. And we're the same as human beings, that we are to grow. We are to grow in our unique way. And yes, we can get inspiration, ideas, and learn from other people, learning from podcasts like this, learning from other companies like personal growth platforms, learning from other people, leaders, teachers, speakers, etc., and apply that to our own path of growth. So growth is all around us, and therefore it's to become a humanity first value. And for me, it means to move forward. Ultimately, for me, it means to move forward and to make progression, and evolve intentionally across all areas of our lives. And we do that how we are designed to grow, because again, we are unique, and we all grow in different ways. And also, we all grow in different ways depending on what time, what period, what time we are in our lives and everything. So the main thing I want you to take away from growth is to start to ask the question, am I growing? Am I actually growing? And if not, how can I start to move forward, make progression, and evolve intentionally across all areas of my life. And that could also mean you start off with one specific area. So it might mean you start off with your emotional life if you feel that area of your life is going to have the biggest impact. But also because we have all these different areas of our lives, sure, like mostly if we make progress in one area, there's going to be some sort of effect in another area. I also feel that it's very important that we bring consciousness to every area of our life over time because they are all different. And even within different areas of our lives, we can grow in different ways. So the next humanity first value is optimism. So I shared a little bit about this before, but for me, optimism means to always see the light and what's possible. So I linked it up with the contribution value because when we're contributing and we're giving freely and openly, we're standing into our expanded selves, our expanded beings. And I feel that optimism and like always seeing the light and what's possible is a natural byproduct of that because because we like now we have stepped into our expanded selves, our expanded being. So like when we're in that, let's call it our higher self, when we're in that place, I don't know about you, but like we're in that place, I want to say it's actually not possible to feel lower frequencies. We might be aware of them and that they exist, but they're kind of like over there. We are in this expanded place now. And optimism for me is get this. Optimism, therefore, when we're in that expanded place, it's easy then to be optimistic. It's what I was sharing about being grateful and gratitude. When things are going good, it's easy to be grateful for them. How optimistic are you when the shit hits the fan? How optimistic are you when something that we perceive bad is to happen? How optimistic are you when a tragedy happens, which is all part of life? And by getting back to these values, I believe that we can navigate the tragedies and the down points in our lives a lot more easier because we come to the place of love and kindness. We come to the place of expressing gratitude. We come to the place of, okay, how in this situation can I contribute and give in alignment with who I am? How in this situation can I learn this to grow and move forward and evolve? How in this situation be optimistic and always see the light because the light is always there. We just need to see it. Think of it as like a tunnel, right? This is something that's just come to my mind. We have a tunnel. If we're looking, so to the right, you have the light, and to the left, it's just darkness. Sometimes we need to turn around and see the light, ultimately. And that's what optimism is. The light's always there, but sometimes we have our back to it, so we can't see it. We need to turn around and see the light because the light is always there. So that's what optimism means for me, is to see the light and to see what's possible. And when the shit hits the fan again, when bad things happen, when life's events and situations happen that maybe aren't ideal, this is when a lot of these values kick into force and that actually put them to the test if we truly believe in them, myself included, if we truly believe in them and we use them to navigate our life. And finally, we have health. Okay. So health for me means to take care and look after ourselves in every aspect of our lives. I still want to work on that definition a bit, but at the moment, that's what I've come up with because health, as the other five, is it the foundation of human existence? If we don't have our health, what do we have? I found that it's very hard or a challenge to contribute in the way that we want to contribute when we are sick or when we are ill, which then highlights the need for our health. Interesting thing about health is health just isn't one thing. Health isn't just our physical. Health isn't just our fitness. Health isn't just eating nutritional foods, whole foods from nature, from planet Earth. Health isn't just getting 7 to 8 hours sleep every night. Health isn't just mindfulness and meditation. Health isn't just communicating effectively in our relationships and building meaningful ones. Health is all of it. Health, therefore, is also the state, the level within any particular area of our life. And surely the ultimate goal, if we want to live our most meaningful, purposeful, conscious, fulfilling life, is to elevate our health, to grow. It links up with the value of growth. So health is a very key value, and it's one that I've become more conscious about over the past 18 months, probably actually since 2020. nothing really to do with the pandemic. I started it really before then. And then I think the pandemic kind of elevated it. But yeah, guys, like those are the 6 humanity first values: love and kindness, gratitude, contribution, growth, optimism, and health. And my hope for you today is that you start to think about these. You need to take them all on yourself, because for me, they're how I navigate my life, and what I believe in is the foundation of all human existence, right? These values also might mean something different to you. You might not combine love and kindness into one value. For me, I have. You might think that another value is more important than optimism or contribution or whatever it is. It's completely fine. Like, one of the purposes of life is to actually realize what you stand for and then to live it. Again, for me, these are the foundation of human existence. It's what I see in the world, and it's what I feel is true for me based on how I see the world. So I hope that this episode has inspired you in some way, has brought consciousness to maybe some ideas or some values or some ideas within the values that you didn't recognize before, and that you can gain inspiration from this episode to go out there and live your most meaningful, purposeful, and conscious life. I feel like I'm only just touching the surface around these values and everything that we've got going on and will be going on at Raising Consciousness, at Just Gratitude, and another project. These humanity first values are going to be the cornerstone and foundation of that. So I'm looking forward to that. I would love to hear feedback, your thoughts on these values, if they mean something different to you, if you feel like there's values I've missed that you feel are the foundation of this human experience, of all human existence. Hit me up on Twitter at @RealLukeBurrows, and definitely check out Just Gratitude in the description. We dropped this yesterday, and I'm really looking forward to this project. All that's left for me to say, guys, is thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning into today's episode. I hope you gain value from it, and I will look forward to the next one with you all. So next episode, I'm looking to share with you. So today, obviously, it's all been about humanity first values. Throughout all of my projects and businesses and brands, we have an approach that I want to share with you that feeds into humanity first values, but it's called the humanity plus approach. Humanity plus approach. I want you to get that, okay? My intention is to share that with you in the next couple of episodes. Probably the next episode, it will depend on guests and stuff. I've got some guests lined up, and might be interviewing guests first. But that in the next upcoming episodes, basically. And again, all that's left for me to say is have a fantastic day. Go out there, make some stuff happen. Have a great day. Peace out.
And for more after today's show, be sure to head on over to raisingconsciousness.show to get all of the show notes, transcriptions, videos for each episode, and a hell of a lot more. And if you got value from this episode, found it insightful, or learned a thing or two, please leave a review where you can let everyone know that this show is worth checking out. I appreciate you so much. You'll be hearing from me in the next episode.